former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution of State Prosecutor Advocate Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan is due back in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg today. Zuma is charging the two with leaking a confidential doctor's letter during his arms deal fraud and corruption trial. But for more on this story, let's bring in SABC News reporter Rene Heine. Rene, good morning to you. I think there's so much to catch up on and so much that has happened in this matter. Can we start a little bit with perhaps what we're expecting to hear in court today?
Good morning. Yes, Naledi. In court today, it will probably be a few minutes of presumably just setting a date for this private prosecution, because the private prosecution cannot really continue at the moment because there are pending applications in the Supreme Court of Appeal, plus also in the Constitutional Court, which relates to this matter. And the appeals are on the fact that the full bench here in the Pietermaritzburg High Court had already set aside the private prosecution, saying it is an abuse of process and that it was brought for ulterior purposes. And also the full bench then enforced an order, setting aside this private prosecution. This then was then taken by Zuma on appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and in a recent judgment they've dismissed it and agreed with the High Court that it was brought for ulterior purposes and that it had to be set aside, and it stood. But because Zuma has intended now to appeal that ruling in the Supreme Court of Appeal and also in the Constitutional Court, that would mean that the decision, or the ruling rather, is set aside, rather is suspended, and that is why Downer and Maughan were required now again to appear in the Pietermaritzburg Court for the private prosecution, which I said essentially would possibly be only a postponement to decide on a postponement date.